Hello and welcome to Nonsense Farm. Today I am at my home in Murphy and I want to share with you the story of my dog Lacy. So back in 2008, my husband came to me and said, we need to get the kids a dog. And now I love dogs. I always have loved dogs. I had dogs growing up. But you have to understand that in 2008, I had an 8-year-old and a, 13-year-old. And I was just getting out of the stage of life where I had to be overly involved in keeping somebody else alive. And so I was having a little bit more freedom than I had had. And I was not in favor of getting a dog. I said I had just entered my poop-free phase of life. I didn't have to worry about if anyone else had to go to the bathroom. And so I was not all that excited about getting a dog. He said, yeah, we need to get a dog. He says, and I want it to be a golden retriever. And I was like, oh man, there's going to be fur everywhere and dogs are so expensive. And I was like, ugh. I said, all right, we will get a dog. It's got to be a girl. That was like the hill that I was willing to die on, that the dog had to be a girl. So anyway, Philip looked around and he found a breeder and he sent me out. There was somewhere in East Texas, I don't remember where. And there was one female and several males left, and he said, go, look at the puppies and choose one. And he said, look at all the puppies, don't just look at the girl, because what if one of the boys is a better dog? Anyway, so I ring this lady's doorbell, and she comes to the door, and she has this perfect creature in her arms, and it was Lacy. And the minute I saw her, she was just the dog of my heart. There was no more question, no more not wanting to get a dog. That was the dog of my heart. So we chose her, and I brought her back. Now for a couple weeks, she had to live with our office assistant at work because she was to be a Christmas puppy, and we wanted her to be revealed on Christmas morning. And so she stayed with our office assistant for however long that was. I don't even remember. And then on Christmas morning, the kids came out and she was in my lap, and the kids of course just went directly to the Christmas tree, and my sister-in-law was there, and I remember her saying, children, say good morning to your mother. And so they turned and they looked at me, and in fact, I'll show you the picture here of them realizing that there was a puppy. So anyway, that was how Lacy came into our lives. And she's the very best dog. I remember early on I had aspirations that she would sleep in a crate. She was not going to sleep with us. You guys with dogs, it's famous last words. Well, I think the first night I had her in a crate and she made like a little peep, and I went and got her and she slept with us. And I think I might have tried to get her to...
That's not what happened.
What happened?
The first night in the crate, you made her sleep in the crate all night. I slept in the
No,
next to her.
The first night was Christmas Eve.
Oh, the first night. Okay. My first night was different than your first night.
Yes, it was the next night.
Well, there was a night where you made her sleep in the crate all night because I slept next to her in the same.
Yes, well, I just said I continued to mess with it, but it did not go. Anyway, so Lacy, generally, she slept with us for her entire life. So she was a great dog. In that house, we had a pool, and even though she's a golden retriever, which is a water dog, I guess, she never willingly went into the water except for one time. My daughter had jumped into the pool and was seeing how long she could stay down. And I firmly believe that Lacy thought that Ruthie was in trouble. And Lacy jumped in the water, I believe, in an attempt to rescue Ruthie, who was actually not in danger. But anyway, that's the only time she ever willingly went in the water, was to go after Ruthie. Then fast forward to when she was, she would be 6. Philip comes to me again and says, we need to get another dog. And I'm like, we are a 1-dog family. We have 1 dog. Lacy is perfect. We need a dog. And he says, well, Lacy isn't going to live forever. And I think it's important to have another dog around. And I'm like, that is preposterous. Lacey is going to live forever. End of discussion. We do not need another dog. Well, if you haven't gathered by now, my husband doesn't really let up on stuff. So anyway, he found a dog. We go out to the breeder, and we were looking at the different puppies, and I said, oh, I think we should have this puppy. And he's like, oh, I think we should have this puppy. And the breeder was like, really? Because my husband was looking for a dog with a big personality. Now, I understand golden retrievers come in tiggers and eeyores. Well, Lacy was definitely an eeyore. Well, the next dog we got, Loper, she was definitely a tigger. Her whole name actually is the Interloper Banks, because I kept telling Philip over and over I could not believe that he was bringing an interloper into our home. In fact, the day that we brought her home, I refused to go out to the breeder, not because, I understood we were getting a dog at this point. It's just that I did not want to give Lacy the impression that I was part of bringing this interloper into our house. So I stayed home, and Philip and Trey went out and brought Loper home. But anyway, they, got along fine. It was fine. And so anyway, fast forward, Loper's 7 now. All right, so fast forward to January 7th of this year. I had noticed, so first of all, I brush my dog's teeth every day that I'm home. And over the years, with Lacey's gums, I notice if I'm out of town and I come back and I brush her teeth, that if I've been out of town a few days, that her gums are bloody for a few days after I get home. So anyway, her gums had been bloody, and so I was just really intent on getting that area, healed up and clean. And she also started, like, whenever I would pull her toothbrush out of the drawer, she would leave the room, which, remember, this is now a 13-year-old dog who has had her teeth brushed almost every day of her entire life. And she started leaving the room whenever I got the toothbrush out. I'm like, that's really weird. So anyway, it just kept bleeding. So at a certain point, I looked at her gums, and it looked like her back teeth had been, like, sheared off. And I'm like, that is so weird. What did she do? So anyway, I made an appointment with the vet and figured maybe she would need to have these teeth extracted or whatever. And if you actually look on my Instagram account, you can see I made a post that day because I just didn't have a good feeling. I dropped her off at the vet, and I even said in the Instagram post, I sure will feel better when they call me and tell me everything's okay. Because for one thing, you got a 13-year-old dog going under anesthesia, it's not ideal. Plus, of course, since she is so old, I had them do lab work before they put her under, and some of her lab work was a little bit off, but it could be explained by an infection, which is what I thought we were dealing with. Anyway, so I'm at work that morning, and I get a call from the vet much sooner than I should have, and she said that when they got Lacy out, that they found a tumor, an oral tumor. And let me back up. Back when she was 10, she had a cancer like here. I don't remember what kind of cancer that was. But we had surgery for her, and she beat that cancer. So anyway, fast forward, she's 13, and now she's got oral cancer. And the vet says that they're normally pretty aggressive. And, by now she's 13. And so now the thing to do is to make sure she's comfortable and just, watch her for the right time. So, we picked her up, and she's on 2 different pain medications and an antibiotic because, of course, the tumor and it growing in her mouth was just causing infection all the time. And so we're running a dog hospice, and how am I going to know when it's time? And then one of my friends online from Alaska, hi Nancy, she posted that her vet had told her to watch for 5 things every day. One is eat, sleep, pee, poop, and enjoy something. As long as the dogs are doing all 5 of those things each day, then you're good to keep going. But once one of those things drops out, then you need to make a decision. So we're watching her, and I switched her to soft food, and she, was plotting along. Well, then come the first week in February. Oh, and also the vet had told us that she would last somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks. So we get into the first few days of February, and here in Dallas, of course, the world froze for a couple of days. This was last week. And my husband has this board game weekend that they go up to, so they had left the day before the world froze, and we're up playing board games. And so I was home alone with Lacey, frozen in the house for 3 whole days, which is great, but also it gave me an opportunity that I don't normally have, because normally I'm at work and I'm at the farm on the weekends, but it gave me an opportunity to really see her all day. And it occurred to me toward the end of the 3rd day, I was like, I haven't seen her enjoy anything this whole time. So, during that time, one of the times I fed her in the morning, she lost her legs twice while she was eating, and I was having to hold her up from the back. So at that point, I went and got some non-slip mats for her to stand on while she was eating. But when you're caring for somebody who's dying, it feels like you're chasing a boulder downhill, and that's a little bit what that felt like. But you chase anyway. So Philip got home, and I said, I think we need to go ahead and schedule this. We of course had decided that we wanted to have her euthanized here at home and not take her into the vet, because it was something we could do for her. She doesn't love going to the vet, and anything we could do to make it easier on her, of course, that's what we were going to do. But it's not like these people are sitting around on their sofa waiting for you to call and come over. You have to schedule it. So you need a few days notice. So I said on Sunday, I think she's ready. But I told him I need you to be ready, and I need you to agree, because I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want anyone to have any regrets. So, but he said, she just walked up to me when I got home. She's wagging her tail, a little bit. So I don't think I'm ready yet. And that was on Sunday. I'm like, okay. So then on Monday, he came to me and said, I think you're going to need to be the one to say, because you're down, people have their places in their homes where they hang out. He's primarily upstairs. I'm primarily downstairs. And I'm the one usually that feeds them and whatnot. So I have more, and I had just been with her frozen in the house for 3 days. So I was in a better position to know. So on Tuesday, I called Beyond the Rainbow, which is the at-home euthanasia place, and scheduled, no, that's not right. On Monday, after he said that, I called and scheduled for Wednesday at 4 o'clock. On Tuesday, I was just about to leave work, and Philip had already gotten home, and he messages me on Slack at work and says, I think we have a problem with Lacey. And I'm like, are you saying I need to call the people to come tonight? And he says, maybe she's been like this the whole time, and I just don't know. And I said, send me a picture. And her left paw was completely saturated with blood. Remember, the tumor was here, and she obviously, something had burst, or I don't know, but somehow there was blood everywhere. And she was out in the backyard, laying in the backyard, and she hadn't moved. She didn't get up when he came out, which is, if you ever have been around a golden retriever, that is not usual. So I immediately, of course, got up, was heading home. I called the euthanasia place, left a message. We had a social obligation that night. I called and took care of that. Anyway, and I called my kids and said, I think it's time. It's going to be tonight. Fortunately, and I was trying to make provision, what if the euthanasia place couldn't come tonight? Because from what I'd seen, I was not going to let her suffer all night. So I called our vet to see if there was any way that I could pay whatever they would charge for somebody to come to the house, and they didn't have anybody. So then I thought, well, if the at-home people can't come, then what I'm going to have to do is bundle her up, and we're going to have to go to a pet emergency place, a place she's never been. She'll be scared and uncomfortable. But I can't let her suffer all night. Fortunately, as I pulled into the neighborhood, I got a call back from them, and they said they would be able to be here at 7 o'clock. This was at 5:30. So thank goodness. So I got home, walked in the back door, immediately saw that in the laundry room, it looked like a crime scene. There was blood everywhere. There was just blood everywhere. I showed that to my husband. He hadn't seen it yet. I walked into my bedroom. I wanted to change clothes into a t-shirt, out of work clothes, and saw another crime scene in my bathroom and showed that to him. And anyway, so I walked out here. I grabbed 2 blankets out of the basket on the fireplace, walked right outside, laid 1 blanket on the grass, laid right next to Lacey, laid another blanket over the 2 of us. And I laid there for close to the next 2 hours. It was 7 o'clock when the vet came. It was probably 7:30 when it was over. And so I was laying on one side of her. My daughter came down from Denton as soon as I called her. She was on the other side of her. Philip was on her head side. And then God bless the Beyond the Rainbow people. That vet came, and she was down toward her tail. And of course, by 7 o'clock, it was dark. And she was down there with a flashlight and just never made Lacy move. And so Lacy got to end her life surrounded by people she loved in a place that she loved, her backyard. And so I'm forever thankful for that. So now we have said goodbye to Lacy, and I can't believe it. I just, in my heart, she was going to be with me forever, and she is going to be with me forever in my heart, but just not in my house now. So we are looking for another puppy, a female golden retriever. It looks like it might be summer before one's available anywhere. If anyone watching has any tips, I would welcome hearing about them. But anyway, I've already ordered Lacey's grave marker. She's being cremated, and then she'll be buried out at Nonsens Farm. And I believe that I'm going to plant a pecan tree next to her that'll grow huge and big. And when I see it, I will always think of her.